Hello and welcome to Missed Checkpoints, the video game book club podcast. Today we're discussing No More Heroes. I'm your host Marqus, and joining me today, as always, are the homies. First up, we have Trevor.
What's going on?
What's up, man? Next, we have Dante.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? And last but not least, we got the homie Greg.
What up?
What's going on? It is Greg's game for the month of May, so I'm going to kick it to him so he can introduce the game.
All right, so I picked No More Heroes, and the reason why I picked this was I was a fan of the previous Suda51 game that we picked, which was Killer 7. And I originally played this when it came out on the Wii, but didn't get too far into it, so figured it'd be a good time to dig back into it. So, No More Heroes is an action game that was developed by Grasshopper. The game was directed, designed, and written by Goichi Suda, also known as Suda51. Players are put in the shoes of Travis Touchdown, who becomes involved in the United Assassins Association and is forced to kill high-ranked assassins in order to get to number 1. No More Heroes was known as Project Heroes when it was in its early stages, and it was initially planned as a 360 game until producer, I'm probably going to butcher this, but Yasuhiro Ueda suggested to Suda to move development over to the Wii because of its unique controls. A number of films, actors, and music have inspired Suda51's design for No More Heroes. Besides the title coming from the UK punk band The Stranglers' 1977 album of the same name, the structure of the United Assassins Association is based on the film El Topo, which features a smaller, albeit smaller ranking system. Travis Touchdown and his antics are based on Johnny Knoxville of Jackass and wrestler Josh Barnett, who also served as the persona from which the Destroy Man character was created. Other character influences include Scarlett Johansson as the UAA's Sylvia, Ian Curtis, who's a punk band singer, as Travis's twin brother Henry, Charles Bronson as assassin Dr. Peace, and Genichiro Tenryu as Travis's mentor Thunder Ryu. The game takes place in a fictional city called Santa Destroy, which is based on San Diego. No More Heroes was released for the Wii in Japan on December 6, 2007, and in North America on January 22, 2008, and was positively received across multiple publications. Reviewers praised its unique story and gameplay, sense of humor, satisfying game progression, intuitive controls, and catchy and distinctive soundtrack. In 2009, Famitsu revealed that No More Heroes would receive a port for the PS3 and Xbox 360 titled No More Heroes: Heroes Paradise. The game featured updated graphics but lacked motion control on Xbox 360. The ports were released in Japan on April 15, 2010, and the PS3 version was released in North America on August 16, 2011, featuring PlayStation Move support. Over 10 years later, after its original release, the game was made available for the Nintendo Switch via eShop. Engine Software assisted with the port, which was the studio who helped with the PC port of Killer 7 a few years back. Although the game fared well review-wise, it didn't prove to be a financial success for its publisher Ubisoft, but despite this, the game developed a fan base and eventually had its sequel announced in October 2008. And that's my intro.
Okay. So I had looked up a little bit about the OG, the game on the Wii. Do you remember much about it?
A little bit.
Like what?
As far as like how it played, or like...
yeah. Because I was curious how it was different. Because obviously the motion controls, but like what exactly, if you remember anything, did they all do? Because I can assume, and I have something up, but I was just curious if you could talk us through it.
The only thing I remember different, I mean, when I played it, it was only like maybe a couple hours worth. But that game had motion controls, so obviously, the motions that you would use to finish off enemies were like Wiimote strikes basically. But as far as combat, I think it was mostly just button until you got to that point. Then you would do the motion. And I don't remember I did any of the mini game stuff, so I can't remember if that stuff had motion controls like heavily implemented into it.
Gotcha. So did you have to do like if you wanted to do a horizontal versus a vertical strike? Did you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
And
I
think
know
the
you had to do
wrestling
it
stuff
to recharge your beam too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay. Dante, do you have a background with No More Heroes?
Yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead and say, I think everybody aside from me played the Switch re-release, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did. And I know Trevor did too.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know when I purchased it, but I got the PS3 No More Heroes Heroes Paradise version, which, as Greg mentioned, it has updated graphics and a couple other changes that I guess I'll get into as we go through the game. But I think I got to it maybe like 5 years ago or so. That sounds about right. And then I did end up playing No More Heroes 2, apparently. So I have a list of every game I've pretty much owned and completed on Giant Bomb. And I literally just had to check and see if I had the complete or non-complete check next to No More Heroes 2, because allegedly I've completed it, but I have zero recollection of it whatsoever.
It was a blur.
It really was.
Do you what about you, Trevor? Do you have any background?
So I remember kind of vaguely one of my friends came over while I was living in Jacksonville at the time, and they brought their Wii, and they pulled out this game, and it was No More Heroes. And I'm like, okay, I've seen the cover art for this. It looks interesting. I like the art style. And then they started playing it, and I saw them like shaking the Wii remote like to recharge, and I was like, man, this game is pretty weird. And this was, of course, before I played Killer 7, so I had no experience with the that particular developer. But yeah, I never played it myself, but I watched them play the game for a while, and it seemed interesting, but I never got into it.
Was it their first time playing it, or were they just like a fan of the series, or do you...
I don't remember.
Okay.
Well, it was just one of those nights where we usually played Smash, but one day they were like, "Hey, let me finish playing this game because I'm almost done."
Let me show you how I shake my Wii remote.
Well, I have no background with this. I had read a review about this game recently, and it was like, this is one of those games where everybody swears it's a fun game, but you don't know anybody that's played it. You know, it's like, and like I had no idea Dante. I mean, until we played it, it's just not like a game that I feel like people and fans of the game talk about, and to an extent. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
have you guys ever had a
I
conversation with somebody about this
I
franchise?
only even remember a lot about this game when it was like right before it came out, because I used to watch a lot of the 1UP show and like all their videos, and I feel like they talked about this so much either on the podcast or like I think they made a video about it too. But yeah, that's the only reason I even was kind of aware of it at the time.
I guess I just through just osmosis heard about it either through what year did this game come out? The Wii version?
I think it was 2008.
2008. Yeah, 2008.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to think if Giant Bomb talked about it at all, or
Wasn't that like the very beginning of Giant Bomb?
it depends on Giant Bomb was like summer 2008.
This game, I'm trying to look what the Wii version is.
It was
If not,
January 2008.
January, so that was probably after. But I also did listen to the One Up Yours podcast back in the day, and I'm pretty sure they probably talked about it. So that's probably how I initially got it. But I kind of feel like this is in a Mega Man Battle Network type of clout circle where, like, if you know somebody that knows about it, you'd talk to them about it. But otherwise, it's probably not just going to come out of the blue.
That's fair. That's fair. It's weird because I do remember when we posted, or I posted about playing Killer 7 on my own personal Facebook page. People were like, "Oh, you guys should play Killer or No More Heroes." That should be that's the Grasshopper game you should be playing, or the Suda 51 game. So it's like people, because I think I made a comment like Killer 7 is weird, and they're like, well, if you think that's weird, and like those kind of comments. But like that was the first time I had ever like heard anybody talk about it really, because I didn't start listening to the Bombcast until like 2010, and like I'm very much like Trevor, where I knew what the box art looked because of seeing it at GameStop all the time, but that was about it. So let's get into the game. So the game kind of, I think if you let I'm pretty sure the opening scene will play when you start the game, but it's also like the opening scene if you just stay at the menu screen of the game as well. And it's Travis kind of narrating. He's basically saying like he's basically down on his luck. He's pretty broke. He needs to find a job. He needs to get some money. And the reason why is because he met this cute girl at the bar, and he spent his last couple of bucks, getting her drinks or whatever. And then he goes and says like, oh, well, she tells me about an opportunity to join is it the UAA? Is the, what is called, right?
Yeah.
United Assassins Association. And she basically, excuse me, he spends all his money on video games and wrestling videos because he's a huge like anime and wrestling nerd. He meets this girl, spends more money or the remainder of his last few dollars and on this girl, and he's down on his luck, and she basically offers him a job through the UAA to kill this person named Helter Skelter, also known as the Drifter, and he's like ranked the number 11 in the UAA's association, the governing body of assassins. And he takes her up on the offer because he needs to make some money and he's desperate, and he ends up killing the guy and making some money. And then that's from then on the girl's like, I'll talk to you about your next job. And at this point I think you can see that Travis is kind of like a sleazy, I guess you could say, kind of guy, because he's like, I will definitely do this, and if I get to number 1, will you sleep with me? And that was kind of like the I wrote the quote down, if I become number 1, will you do it with me? This is that quote. And she says, sure, why not? And if you can make it there. So she's like this, her name is Sylvia, and she's French, so she's like seductive or whatever, and you like know there's more than meets the eye with her, and basically that starts the game off. So you're ranked number 11th, and you need to you wake up to a fax from the UAA that's basically saying, hey, you're registered, or in order to register for the fight to kill the 10th ranked assassin, you have to have this much money. And so at that point, then you have to do odd jobs and whatnot in order to earn the money in order to register for the fight. And that will take us to the gameplay. So let's start with the open world aspect, actually. So you basically you leave your motel. You're like in a kind of traditional, stereotypical, like California motel, sleazy motel, and that's where you're living. And you have this motorcycle that you can ride, and you basically it's almost the open world part of the game kind of reminded me of Crazy Taxi and Grand Theft Auto. So it's like very, very colorful, like Crazy Taxi, but you have like
same vibe.
You have the mini like the mini map of GTA with the waypoints and like the different icons and whatnot to distinguish different shops and everything. But what was your guys' vibe with your with the open world aspect of the game? Like, what was your guys' read on it?
Like as far as like if we liked it or
just if you liked it and some of the types of things, like what did it make you think of anything like that I didn't mention, or is, like
no? I mean that kind of is. I mean it gives you that vibe that you're saying. I mean I guess the only thing that was kind of weird to me is like I felt like there wasn't for open world there wasn't enough to do in it. I guess it just kind of. I mean you had basically the same type of missions to kind of do over and over. But like it's just not really a whole lot other than just collecting the balls which are one of the collectibles, and then you can start digging for money I guess once you level up your beam katana, but it's kind of not a whole lot going on in the world, right?
I agree with you, Marcus. Like when I first started playing, I was just like, man, this. Like once I got in your vehicle, which you drive kind of like a motorcycle type thing. Yeah. And as soon as I got into it, I was just like, oh, this is like Crazy Taxi. But running around, my first thought was, okay, this kind of looks like GTA. And a police car just pulled up. Let me not mess with it, and then eventually I figured out, oh,
life lessons.
They don't do anything to you.
Not life lessons.
But yeah, and just to kind of comment on Greg, what Greg said, yeah, it's an open world, but there's nothing really to do in between, like you driving from point A to point B. And okay. I don't want to get too far ahead, but like Greg said, there's not a lot to do in it. It just feels like you see a lot of it because you have to drive around a lot. Yeah. Or you have to drive in long spans. Like every time you go somewhere, it's like on the other side of the map. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I wish there was more to do there because I don't know. It definitely had that GTA feel. Like once you walk out of your apartment and you step onto the street.
Time to bust some heads. So I feel you guys. I do, but I'm wondering if I was trying to think of like open world games and the games that were out in 2008 to try to like put it in perspective, because I agree by
a lot of good ones.
Yeah, like I know Grand Theft Auto 4 was out at that point. I think it came out in 2007 or 8, I think. So it was around the same time. And I like the thing is that I guess I'm only thinking about Grand Theft Auto and like Saints Row. And I don't think this open world was too expansive, that there was like you're driving for a long time in between, things and whatnot. But I will agree that it doesn't necessarily feel like lived in this, like you can, I mean, when you run into obstacles, whether it's like a row of mailboxes or like a fence or a stoplight or whatever, it has like a very like you just knocked over a piece of cardboard, like a prop, like on a theater set or something. It just kind of falls and then fades away. When you run over people, whether purposely or not, like they just you kill them and they like just fade away. And like Trevor said, like the cops, there are police officers and whatnot, but they don't react to you doing that. So it just it does seem very empty, I guess, hollow in a sense.
And honestly, I really wouldn't even consider this like an open world game. Like I know you're just referring to like the open world like section, like which is the world, but everything, like whenever you go to do missions, it loads you up into a different area that's like separate from, and you don't have the same abilities in this world that you would if you were in a combat area.
Yeah. I have a lukewarm take that I want to hold on to for later on this, because I don't think it's like eye-opening or whatever, but it was just like when I read something about this game, it made me think about it in a different way, and then I had a different perspective on my feelings about this game.
Can I go ahead and give my take about the
open world part?
Yeah, it shouldn't be there.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it's terrible. Dude, I literally cannot think of a worse controlling freaking hub world than this game. It makes me so mad how bad that motorcycle is. It doesn't even move like an actual car. You're like literally going into these weird, like, they're not even lanes as in like the roads that you're going into, but if you hit left or right, it shifts you over like you're doing like some type of like football move instead of actually driving a vehicle. And then when you get stuck on something, it's next to impossible to get off of it without literally getting off the bike and calling this dude to fix your freaking alignment. It makes me so mad.
Part of me feels like, and I wouldn't be surprised, I didn't really do any deep digging on this, but part of me feels like Suda just included that as like kind of like a joke of like, oh, it's in every other game, let me just put it in here just as like a, oh, you know, it'd be funny, you know, like just make an open world or whatever, and that literally has nothing to do, I mean, nothing really to do in it. It's kind of lifeless. And the fact that in the second game, they got rid of it altogether, you could just fast travel. So,
that was something I wanted to bring up.
I think it was game. Probably, I think that might have been what it is, but I never really actually looked at that.
And I'm completely on board with what you're saying, like, and we'll get into it later with some of the things in this game, but this game is kind of a meta commentary on games in a lot of ways, and the parody aspect of other games being like, oh, well, hey, you need to do these side hustles or mini games to, you know, progress the story. They take that to the largest logical extreme possible. And like Greg was saying, the whole open worldness of this game seems like a parody. And I'm sure it is now that I'm saying it, but just because it's a parody does not make it good.
Oh yeah, no, I totally. I'm with you on that.
So I didn't mind the open world aspect of this game. Just kind of hitting on some of the things. Like it has the normal things. So you're driving to your little side missions that you have to do to make money. They have like a little store that you can go to buy clothes to customize how your character looks. They have like some other, like you can go to the gym and you can kind of, you know, upgrade your character by lifting weights or doing squats or whatever. You have a video store that you can go to watch old wrestling tapes to learn new wrestling moves. You have a place that you can go to kind of upgrade your weapon. And I guess what I'm hearing from you guys is that if it was just like, oh, I'm in the between, you complete a mission, then you go to the, this is the between mission part. You want to upgrade your character now, or you want to hop into the next mission? Is that what you guys were thinking or wishing they could do instead?
Well, what they were saying was they just wish there was more to do. What I'm saying is, you know how when you go to the motel, there's like 7 different drop-down things that you can do?
Yeah.
One of those would just be like Tsubaki or whatever her name was for the katana and like gym. And then there'd be one at the top that says like go to next mission.
Gotcha.
Either that or even just giving people the option to fast travel versus driving would, but then maybe that would have just brought a thing of like, well, why would I ever drive if I could just fast travel? But I guess you still have collectibles, right? So like that could still be incentive for exploring. But
it's weird.
Go ahead and say you got 100%.
No, I got all the balls. Yeah. No, what I was gonna say is that I enjoyed the open world part because it was a break from the part of the game I didn't care for.
Wow. Just go ahead and tell us how you really feel.
Oh, that is that. Please tell me that's a hot take.
Okay. We can keep going. So some of the other things that you do in this is, you know, you're taking side missions and jobs. And it kind of sucks in the beginning because, well, really the entire time, because you have to do these really, really menial labor jobs that are deliberately designed to be tedious and boring to kind of mimic and imitate how it is in real life. So like, it's like, oh, you have to pick up these coconuts and take them to this guy's stand that's selling coconut juice or whatever, coconut water. You have to wash graffiti off walls. You have to collect scorpions to clear out this field. You have to mow lawns. You have to catch these cats. You have to I think that's
gotta pick up landmines.
Yeah, deactivate or pick up landmines, and like so all these jobs are kind of like silly, and like this game overall has a really really silly just vibe and aesthetic. The frustrating thing though was with these side jobs, they didn't really grant you too much money. So like you're doing a job and it's like, oh, if you do this job, you're gonna make like $30,000 or $40,000. But oh, in order to, for example, for the 10th ranked fight, I think it cost $100,000 or $150,000 or whatever the currency is in order to, I think it was LBs. So LBs in order to sign up for that. So you're having to do multiple jobs in between missions in order to be able to sign up for the next, assassination contract or whatever you want to call it. So it gets very tedious. One of the things though is that once you do a side job, then you have these assassination missions, which are a little bit more higher profile. So they like you have to kill a specific target, or you have to kill a specific amount of people and within the time limit, or and just things like that. And they're all pretty tedious as well, but it gives you an opportunity to practice your combat and like to actually play the game. And those also oftentimes you earned more money doing those too, but you had to have that initial, like you had to jump through the hoop of doing a menial job in order to unlock more of the assassin missions. Did you guys end up and obviously because of just the nature of this game and this type of game, you got a rank on it, so you gold, silver, or bronze rank depending on how well you did. Did you guys end up knocking out all the side missions and or assassination missions?
I did all I did all the side missions, and I think I finished all but one. I guess I did do. Yeah, I did all the assassination missions. I was trying to think. I think I just didn't get gold on one of them, but
gotcha. And you said no, Dante. Like once you found the ones that got you enough money, you were like, "I'm good."
Yeah, I was 100% path of least resistance. I didn't care if I got bronze, silver, or gold. I literally went to GameFAQs at some point and just said, which one of these is going to get me the most money? And they're like,
quickest.
Hey, do this one. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Trevor?
Yep, I pretty much did what Dante did. I just found... I didn't even look it up online because throughout the game, I only had 2 assassination gigs unlocked because I wasn't doing the jobs. So I was basically grinding that same one all the way up until like, I think I was ranked 4 or 5. And then that was when y'all told me, oh yeah, you got to do the jobs in order to unlock assassination gigs. And so once I did that, I found like 1 or 2 other assassination gigs that gave a lot of money and just did those.
Yeah, it was something like there was, I think overall by the time you're done, there was 10 menial, like boring jobs, and then there was 20 assassination missions. So every time you did one menial job, you would unlock 2 new assassination ones. And then they were varied, but like for the most part, like it was just like throwing more enemies at you, or like more difficult enemies, or like there was like different requirements. Did you guys do any of those? I don't know what they were called, the M logos.
Yeah,
where you basically you couldn't take more than one hit, and you had to clear out like a section of the open world with usually it was like 8 to 10 people you had to kill without taking any damage, and then you would win money that way too. Did you guys do those?
I did a lot of them. I mean, I hated them at first. I guess I never really enjoyed them, but I just did them out of like, what's like pretty easy
practicing
to get
combat
money.
stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I particularly enjoyed them, but I did them, and the more I played it, the better I got at them. But.
Yeah. I was the same way, and I think that was something that I did enjoy about the open world aspect is it allowed them to experiment with some of the I guess it's not necessarily like the open world it was necessary, but I did the one where you had to fight those people on the basketball court.
Oh yeah.
So that was one of my favorite ones to do. And then there was some where you were like revisiting some previous locations that you had played during like the game, but like I like to go into the new locations and like trying to fight people in a new spot. Did you do those, Trevor and Dante?
No.
Not did you not like? I'm surprised you didn't do them because that seems like something that's right up your alley. As far as like it's like almost like a challenge mode where it's like a combat challenge and it's a little bit more fun than just doing menial jobs.
I tried one of them. I got hit, and I was like, no, I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah, like it really taught me how to use the I guess the slowdown mode basically. So like that's the only way I like. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have gotten like that much into the combat, to be honest.
We talking about the slowdown mode?
Oh, you
The
know,
dodge?
Yeah.
Oh, the last second dodge.
Yeah. Where like
okay.
once you do that,
I thought you were just saying like there was a button that you could do to activate. I'm like, what?
Nah, once you dodge or whatever, it puts you in slow mo.
Yeah. That's one of the, and we haven't gotten to combat yet, but that is kind of one of my big gripes that specifically, I don't think they mentioned that during the tutorial. I think everything else they pretty much mentioned, but specifically like they tell you about the evade, but they don't tell you about the like using the left stick to dodge.
Yeah. Well, we can get into combat.
All right, what's up?
So, I think the combat in this game is relatively straightforward. So, I'm going to be saying the Switch controls. But I'm assuming it's the same for PS3. But you have on the face buttons you have you have the Y button is like a horizontal slash. You have the X button, which is a vertical slash, and then you have two. What are they called in the game? Like beat attacks, or do you remember what they're called, Dante?
I think the formal term is beat attack, but I always just call them stun attacks because that's what they do.
And they're just basically two different melee attacks that are for the A and B button. And basically, the opponents, like the normal enemy fodder, they... and the other thing, too, it's so the Y button is a horizontal low attack. And then the X is a vertical high attack. So you have to attack the opponent in the section they're not blocking. Otherwise, if they're blocking high, you need to attack them low. And the same thing with the beat attacks. The A button is a high beat attack, and then the B button is a low beat attack. So it's just if they're you can either attack them while they're blocking, or you can beat them. And when you do beat, then it like stuns them and allows you to hit them for more damage with your sword, or you can do like because Travis is a huge wrestling fan, so you can hit the button again to do like a unique wrestling move, just depending on what side of the body they are. Beyond that, you have your katana. It's basically like a lightsaber. It's called the beam katana, and it has a charge bar that it basically runs on batteries. So the more attacks you do, the quicker the bar recharge or the bar depletes, and you have to recharge it by holding I think it was whatever the L1 equivalent is, ZL or whatever on the Switch. But basically you do that, and then you have to wiggle the I think it was the right joystick back and forth, left and right, in order to charge it. And by what Travis is doing, he's holding it in front of his crotch, and it looks like he's like masturbating because funny internet humor. That was one of the things that I mentioned with the nunchucks and with the Wii remote, was that you actually had to do that motion when you were playing it originally with the game on the Wii. And beyond that too, you can charge your sword attacks, so they'll use more of your actual energy of your sword, but they'll do bigger damage. And so like certain enemies, when they're low enough health, it'll be like a one shot on them and things like that. And then the other thing is that if you're attacking enemies and you take them down to no life and do an attack, you get like a prompt that does like a specific direction, whether it's up, down, left, right. And if you slide the game slows down, so you can kind of focus on that. So like the enemies aren't really attacking you, and you can move the right thumbstick in that direction, and you do a slashing attack that basically kills them, and then you get like this slot machine animation that comes up at the bottom on each successful death blow. And if you get 3 of the same symbols, you go into dark side, which you gain like a specific abilities depending on which 3 items you match up. So and you just get superpower abilities. I personally, I didn't play and land a lot of the death blows, so I didn't go into dark side mode a lot, so I didn't experience this much, that much. But they were some really cool abilities. I just wish that I could access it more frequently other ways. Was there anything that I missed, or anything that you guys want to add?
I do want to add to the dark side mode. Was it just me, or do you only get it at the end of combat encounters?
No, I mean,
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, sometimes that would happen to me, but to me, it felt like I was getting a fairly, I'd say fairly regularly, not like too much where it felt like it was happening too often, but just enough. I mean, sometimes it would happen when there was a lot of enemies around. Sometimes it would happen when it would be the last 2, and it was like, oh, well, that's kind of worthless. Or like sometimes I would get it, and then they would spawn enemies on the other side of the arena, and it's like, okay, well, by the time I get over there, this is going to be over with. So that would happen sometimes, but for the most part, I felt like I got it enough.
Dante,
Honestly, I have no clue what you guys are talking about.
you never went into dark side mode?
Do I transform or something?
It's the thing when you get whatever special ability when you get 3 of the same icons on the slot machine. So you never did the killing blows?
No, I definitely did killing blows. I
guess you never.
maybe I just didn't notice it.
Yeah, interesting. So like
You didn't have like the tiger at the top, like going
running
to the
towards
finish line.
the flag.
I saw the tiger, but he was pretty much always like just I don't know, laying down or whatever.
Huh.
Like,
Interesting.
and I did a ton of it. Like we're talking where you hit the direction.
Yeah, where you hit. So
That's like 90% of my kills, probably.
Dang, yeah, dude. Like I hardly got them myself either, so it doesn't surprise. Like it's just surprising to me that you don't even know what we're referring to. So I'm assuming that probably if you ever did get it, it was much like what Trevor said, where you got it probably at the very end of a fight. Is my guess.
Yeah, I mean the screen would go dark and I'd see that I got 3 of something, but I never really paid attention to it.
So some of the things that they did in Dark Side mode, they had like a slow down mode. So you could like run up on enemies. They were moving in super slow speed, so you could just wail on them and just body them. There was another one where your sword shot out like explosive projectiles that would one hit kill people. There was another mode where you were walking really slow. The game was kind of in black and white, and then you would see an enemy, and then there's a face button on your controller that would pop up. You hit that button, and you just insta-kill, like you just one-hit kill them in some type of cool animation. Those were the only 3 that I remember. I think there was 5 different ones.
The only thing that I ever got that seemed different was, like, I know if I got a lot of kills without getting hit, like my katana or whatever would get super energized for a second. I only had it happen a couple times. Is that part of that?
I don't think so. That's just you being good.
I don't know. That's really weird. I don't know if it... I have no reason to believe they would take it out of the PS3 version, but...
Yeah, that is weird. And then, so like the reason why I didn't get it a lot was because I started using wrestling moves. So like that was my preferred way. I was a grappler. So I would like hit people and then hit like, do a couple sword attacks, then hit a beat attack on them. Oh, they're dizzy, then I would do a wrestling move. So like I'm pretty sure I got all the wrestling moves in the game. And then I also had upgraded my grab range as well. So I was just laying hands. So for whatever reason they determined that you don't get
you had to hit a button combination to activate this thing?
No.
You talking about to activate dark side mode?
According to the Heroes Paradise Q&A thing I'm looking at GameFAQs, people are like push R2 plus circle.
Oh, I have no idea because we didn't have to do that.
Huh. Interesting.
So I do want to go back a little bit after Marcus just said that about the wrestling moves.
Go ahead.
So we didn't talk about the tutorial in this game.
Sure.
The tutorial is very much so optional. Like when you first start playing the game, it introduces the combat to you, and it'll be like, here's how to swing your sword. Do you want to learn more? And it doesn't tell you like what more is, but if you click on it, it actually tells you some essential things that you need to learn throughout the game. And at one point, I guess I thought I'd be able to go back and finish the tutorial, or it would kind of tell me like throughout the game, like if I picked up new abilities, how to use them. But that never happened, so I kind of skipped the rest of the tutorial. I didn't go all the way through it. So I actually didn't even know, like, when you get an enemy in the dizzy state that you could grab them and grapple them. So I didn't use any wrestling moves up until I got to, like, rank 4 or 5.
You goofed.
Well,
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of on you, bro. That's
well, like, to be fair, I feel like the wrestling moves aren't that great until you, like, unlock more of them, and then, like, they become more powerful in ways, because, like, before, you would do it, and it would just knock them down, but it's like, okay,
Kill them
and
when
then I
you knock
gotta...
them down.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes... Well, later on, they would actually kill them. Like, I think early on, you would just knock them down, and it's like, okay, well, then I gotta stab them, but then I got other people around me I gotta worry about. But yeah, once you get to the point where they actually kill people, they're pretty good then.
Yeah, yeah, like that was something I found out was like I liked throwing people to the ground because I was just like, if you're not surrounded, but if you're fighting multiple people and you grab one person and you slam them down with a wrestling move, you normally knock over anybody around them as well. And even though they're not laying on the ground for like a long period of time where you can stab them like you can with the person that you slammed, it like kind of gets them off your back.
That's true.
But yeah, like later on when you upgrade your wrestling moves and whatever, like it's actually a weird animation because it never makes sense. Like you're doing some type of wrestling move or whatever, and then the sword will be just flying up in the air and just land.
Yeah,
it just kills them, and it's just like, when did he throw the sword up? It's just really ridiculous. But yeah, like I love the wrestling moves. That was my thing because the combat. I was trash at this game.
I mean, I struggled with the combat early on because the high and low attacks kind of, I don't know, I guess I found myself not paying attention to how they were guarding sometimes because early on you have to kind of pay attention, like, oh, are they guarding high or like, is it low? So then you have to try and do the attack that corresponds with, where you need to hit them at. But like, at a certain point, once you level up enough, like that doesn't even matter anymore. It's like you just swing at people and then they pretty much just die. I mean, as long as you, as long as you like maybe dodge, you do the, I forget what it's called now, but that last second dodge basically, and you just swing on people and they just die. Like it's just, it like the combat to me got pretty trivial, like around 6 hours in. Like at that point, I felt like I could pretty much just kill anything like pretty quickly.
Did you use wrestling moves, Dante, then? Or you said you always used the killing blow?
I mean, I did use wrestling too, like whenever I got prompted for it, pretty much. Which I don't know. I'm not going to go into like my critiques quite yet, but I don't know, like most of the moment-to-moment gameplay, the non-boss gameplay was pretty trivial. It's just you block if you absolutely have to. I feel like you can mostly get away with hitting just the sword attacks for the most part. And the whole high-low system doesn't really... I guess it kind of matters, but not really. Like, I feel like the percentages, like, use low 70% of the time and then occasionally use triangle when they start blocking low.
Yeah.
And, I tried to use pretty much everything, but apparently I didn't use these superpower attacks, which probably would have helped a lot during bosses.
Oh, well, you wouldn't have been able to get them on bosses because you had... Unless the version you're playing, the Heroes Paradise version, you could activate it whenever. But for us, it was like, oh, we kill a normal enemy, we slice off their head, the slot machine thing goes. Then, like, if you got 3 matching, it's activated right there. Like, you don't hit a button to activate it. It's just you're in that mode now.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not gonna get that on the boss because you're in almost all cases you're fighting the boss mano a mano.
Even the times when you do have enemies in the boss fights, like they don't trigger it. So
The rank 2 one.
yeah.
Yeah, I never got it in her. Like, I would say, like, I didn't get any. I would say once I hit rank 7, I don't think I ever. I don't think I ever went into dark side mode again. It was like the whole last 10 hours of the game. I never went into it again, and it was like partly on me because I was grappling a lot, but like I just never the roulette never rolled in my favor.
That's so weird.
Or slots, I guess. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very frustrating because I was like, this is really cool, but like I couldn't even tell you what gave you what because that's how infrequently I got it. It was like, oh, if I get all cherries, this is the one I get, or if I get all coins, this is the one I can't even tell you. You know, you guys want to talk about the actual fights themselves then, the boss fights?
Yeah.
Good. So you see the first one, the 11th rank fight, as a cutscene. So you defeat him, and now you're the 11th ranked assassin. You get into the game, and then you find out that you're vying to kill the 10th ranked assassin. So I won't go beat by beat with each of these fights. We can maybe do that later if you guys would like. But really, the boss fights are they all for the most part follow the same kind of format where you earn enough money in the open world in order to sign up for the contract. You sign up for it, you pay, and then you're told, oh, like you need to go to your motel. So you go to your motel, blah blah blah. You leave, and then when you leave, it's like, oh, now when you get into your motel, like you get a phone call from Sylvia who tells you a little bit about. I guess she tells you like, oh, like you're getting ready for the fight or whatever, and then when you leave, then you get like a waypoint to like this is where the 10th fight or whatever number fight you're about to go to is. You hop on your motorcycle and you travel the open world to that part of the level. You enter the area, and then typically you fight a bunch of the fodder enemies. They're usually themed based off of wherever you're at. So like I know like when you're fighting at the Destroy Stadium, which is the baseball field, like they're wearing baseball outfits or whatever. Then you have bats, or like when you're fighting another person, all of the enemies have axes and things like that. So you fight some fodder enemies leading up to the fight, and then at some point you get you clear out all the fodder enemies, and then you get a phone call from Sylvia, and she's basically telling you, oh, you get ready for the fight, you're ready for the fight, and she always says, trust your force, and something about get ready to enter the Garden of Madness, which I don't know. Do either of you guys know what that meant? Or
Not the slightest idea.
To me, it sounded like an Alice in Wonderland reference.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was a Star Wars reference. Trust your force.
The force part.
Yeah.
I didn't even remember her saying that part, but I remember her saying Garden of Madness, and every time she said that, I was thinking, I thought that was the last boss's arena or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know if you guys understood, and it kind of made me think of Killer 7 too, when it's like blah blah blah, you're in a tight spot, and like there was like specific things that were constantly repeated over and over again in that game too. And I just was wondering, like, is this just like that's just his thing?
Yeah, I just think it was a metaphor, or at least that's how I interpreted it.
Gotcha. But yeah, she basically kind of tells you like, oh, like, normally she's doing some activity like, oh, I'm getting a full body massage or blah 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 this or this, and getting Travis all hot and heavy and just like, I'm gonna get number 1 to be with you, and then she's like, you have and every time it would be a higher and higher percentage chance of dying. And then you're going to be in the 7th circle of hell, or like every time it was like it was like she would say like you have a 100% chance of dying, and see you in hell. And then like later on, it's like you have a 6,300,000,700,000 percent chance of dying, and you'll be in the seventh circle of hell. And then like, oh, later on, she's like, oh, you'll be like, there's no way you're going to live, and you're going to be sitting on the devil's lap. And it was just like really weird, like their relationship that they had. She was definitely a weird one. But then, yeah, you would get to a point where you would learn a new wrestling move. You would be able to save, which for whatever reason in this game, the way to save is to use the toilet. So you see Travis, like he'll go into the bathroom and he's like unbuckling his pants and sitting on the toilet to take a shit. And then it would say, oh, save. And that's how you save this game, which also just, attitude. Video games at that time, I guess. I don't know. Then, yeah, you would save, and then you would fight whatever the boss is, and they would usually go into some you'd go into some cutscene to kind of explain their story or whatever they're about. So and there was a wide cast of characters. I will say that one of the things that I really enjoyed about this game was how varied the characters you faced in this game were, how unique they were. And I kind of wish that they had done some of that in the open world part to kind of give you a little bit more flavor, but it seems like they kind of saved all their creativity for these boss fights in the sense of like how they fleshed out these characters and just created these characters. What'd you guys think of the ranked fights and just like that whole process from the format?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you on the bosses. Like, I don't think that most of the boss fights were like mechanically interesting, but it was more cool just to see the characters that they came up with, like the personality that they had, kind of like the build up, or like the like kind of the process of getting to the boss. So like like I'm trying to think of one in particular. You have one of the boss fights, I forget who it is, but you basically end up having to get on a bus, and you end up fighting on the bus to get to one of the bosses.
Speedbuster.
Yeah. Then like in the boss fights, sometimes there's like these weird little encounters. Like I'm trying to think of one, like who's the guy? I want to say his name's Let's Shake. Is that the guy with the bomb?
Yeah.
And like that is essentially like not even a fight, an actual fight. Like you show up, you're about to fight him. He gives this whole spiel, and then somebody comes down and kills him.
Saying all this stuff. He's like talking all this mess, and he's like, you can tell he's super smart. And it seems like he built this machine himself, and he's just saying he's charging this thing up, and you're like, what the hell is going on? He's yelling all these commands at this robot that is about to attack you, and then it's so like, yeah. The build up for that fight was like crazy.
Yeah. And then the old lady, I'm trying to remember her name, the old lady with the shopping cart, like that one.
That was Speedbuster.
Yeah. Oh, man. Like the design of them is cool. It's like, but it's just kind of like the actual fights themselves are like, you basically do the same thing. You show up, you dodge, attack, you dodge whatever their most powerful attack is, take them down, and it's kind of the same thing. But I did appreciate how unique every boss was. Like nobody was like, as far as design, everybody was different, but there was some unique thing to each of the boss fights.
Yeah, there was definitely like a it kind of wore its welcome, I would say, in a sense, where it's just like the whole process is just like, oh, fight a bunch of fodder enemies, get to the boss, then at that point, then you're like learning the boss's like specific moves and their tendencies and trying to counter that. But the part that I really, really most enjoyed was like figuring out what they were, because like there was like a doctor who was an assassin that was also a singer, so he like serenaded you with a song, and then there was like a dude that was a UPS, like a mailman that turned, like, he was like, could you just like, he was like super non-assuming, like one of those dudes that you would see that like in like whatever suburb, and he's like, can you look away for a second? And he's like, why? Like, we're about to fight. He's like, well, can you just look away for a second? And then you look away, and then you just hear destroy beam, and then you like dodge out the way, and you look up, and the dude is dressed as a superhero. Yeah, so like the magician dude, Harvey Volodyarsky or whatever. That fight was like all the fights were, even if it wasn't like wildly different in like how you approach them, like the personalities, like it. I think that was like definitely like the thing that stood out the most to me, and that'll be the thing that like if I ever were to recommend this game, I would say the characters in the game are really, really cool and really, really unique. And even if they're referencing stuff, it's like I don't know what they're referencing. Like I was thinking like the freaking that Shinobu. I was like, is this just Afro Samurai? Like, but I was like, she's just a black samurai chick, and I was just like, this kind of, she has a fro, is I was like, it's kind of cool though, like I really, really thoroughly enjoyed the boss fights, the characters, the boss characters, I should say. How'd you feel about the boss fights and everything, Dante?
Yeah, definitely the boss fights were the, I guess, standout thing in the game. Like, that's really, like, when you look at it, everything was designed around getting to the boss, and kind of the lead up was just kind of, I don't know, padding in a lot of ways because you're fighting the same enemies. Like, it made me think back on some of the other games we've played, and I was like, man, there's really just one type of enemy. Well, there's like 3 types of enemies. There's your regular sword people, you got your shooty people, and then occasionally you have your blocky people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like there's variations on the sword people, because it's like the dudes that had the beam swords, you had to approach them differently than the other people. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah, but I definitely think the boss fights, like, in some ways it kind of reminded, like, this is probably the first time this comparison has ever been made on the internet, but I was thinking back to Shadow of the Colossus in some ways, where I'm like, oh, well, this is all what this is about, just getting to these bosses and kind of having these kind of grand off showdowns with them and figuring out their patterns. And
but
I don't know, I feel like I'm giving the game too much credit.
But that open world was
patterns.
fine. You can control a horse, but you can't control a motorcycle. Okay.
Oh, you want to? Are you kidding me?
When I fell off my horse.
Think about this.
I know
year,
it's another character.
This game,
it's another character in the game. I know.
This game came out the same year as Grand Theft Auto 4. This game plays worse than Grand Theft Auto 3. This game controls, as far as the open world stuff, it objectively, in my opinion, I know that's a contradiction. I just said objectively, in my opinion, but it does control worse in the open world than Grand Theft Auto 3, which is like a 01, 02, I don't even know, type of thing.
I was just
going
saying,
back to
like,
the bosses, though. I feel like I am giving it too much credit, saying there's a pattern for most of these, where there is a pattern as far as, like, hey, they have about 4 or 5 attacks, and you just have to figure out how to not take damage, because it's really just a war of attrition of not taking damage and whittling their health down until they've taken enough damage to die.
Yeah, basically.
It kind of reminded me of Killer 7 a little bit, as far as the way the bosses, like, that game had like a lot of unique bosses where you had to, I guess that game has a little bit more variety in how you beat the bosses, but all the bosses have like some particular way of like how you have to defeat them,
Yeah, this game didn't have that, but like it was more. I feel like they were more personalities in this game than they were in. So they were bigger personalities and left a longer impression, I felt like, in this game. But I feel like the fights themselves were more unique and varied in Killer 7.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that was going to be my comparison too, but I completely agree with you, Marcus. I think the characters are better in No More Heroes, but the fights were a lot more varied in Killer 7.
Did you guys think that, like, it's almost like they had like we want to do a boss mode, or like you know how they have those games where it's like they clearly like the characters or the bosses are very well thought out, but then the rest of the game, the in between is kind of like rushed. Do you think maybe that was the case with this game? I'm not saying rushed as in it's like incomplete, but it's just like more of an afterthought. And like this was, I felt like before there are boss rush modes or like those type of games where it's just like okay to just stack you, you know, fighting back to back to back, you know, varied enemies. Like do you think that this, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I kind of get where you're coming from. I don't know if I would say, well, you definitely could tell that most of the development time, as far as like I feel like most of the development time was around the bosses themselves, and then like they would just find, because to me the game definitely feels like they're just padding time. Like it's just like a lot of the game is just nothing but padding. It's just like, well, we kind of don't want this to be like a 3-hour experience, so we're just gonna throw in all this other stuff to kind of give you stuff to do. Like a lot of it isn't necessary to like really beating the game. It's just kind of, well, I guess some of it is, but like a lot of it is just there. It's not anything worthwhile. It's just like, well, we kind of need to give you some type of progression other than just beat this guy, go to the next guy, beat this guy. So it's like we have to add stuff to the experience.
We gotta sell this $50 game.
Right.
It's got to be X number of hours. So let's.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely would have been. I wouldn't have been mad if it was literally just the boss fights, but you know, I get it. You know, you can't really sell.
Well, not these boss fights though.
Yeah.
I just felt like personally, I just like felt like they had a really cool idea. Like we want to have this character. Like I even think like the elevator pitch of this game is like there's a guy. He's the 11th ranked assassin, and he wants to become the first ranked assassin. So he has to face all the 10 people in front of him. That's a really cool concept. But then when you start fleshing it out, and it's like the assassins are each going to have their own unique personality or whatever backstory, that's cool. But then when they start fleshing it out and like some of the story beats and some of the other stuff, it just becomes like, oh, like you guys had a really cool concept and like you had to do all these other things to justify, like in order to get the green light to do this game, it seems like.
Well, I think the story is the other, like, how do I even get to, like, the story, like, it's intentionally, like, this is all part of its existence in parody, essentially. So, like, I can appreciate a decent amount of it, even though I hate a decent amount of it, too.
I'm like sitting with what you said, and I'm just like, I don't know if I agree or disagree, or I don't know how to respond right now.
Like, okay. So I'll try to expand that a little bit. So, going back to, I guess, the premise of the story of having the 11 assassins and whatnot, like, that's all good. And the humor in this game is very take what you will from it, I guess. It's in the same paradigm as a Borderlands, essentially. Like, you're either going to love it or absolutely hate it. And somehow I've realized I just contradicted myself again because somehow I'm in the middle of this. But I like some of the directions they take for the humor. I think a lot of the humor is really dumb. I get why it's there, but at the same time, like, it's not in meme culture, the humor, but it is meme culture adjacent in a lot of ways.
I feel like it's definitely of its time, because it's like it's a lot of bad, like, I mean, you
say that, but No More Heroes 3 is about to be the exact same thing.
I know. So like he's very like I'm saying this without having played it. I don't think he's as bad from what I can tell, but he's like a very like raunchy Duke Nukem-esque type of, like, the way he charges his is very over the top.
Well, I mean, that's that's a parody of that. It's not like he's not Duke Nukem. He's a parody of that type of thing. This whole game is a parody of video games in a lot of ways.
This is my issue, or an issue I have with this game, is that if everything is a parody, then that means that everything is super smart and highbrow, and I don't think that's the case. Like, I think that some of the stuff in it was just like a sign of the times. Like, the way the dude,
if we just want to go into parodies not being highbrow, we could talk about Spaceballs all day.
Well, what I mean to say is that just because it's referencing stuff and making fun of things doesn't mean it's doing a good job of doing that. And so
I agree wholeheartedly.
Sometimes it feels like it blurs the line between like
just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I mean, yes, but I I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think that there are some things that they parody very smartly, and I think there are some things that it was like, are we sure this is a parody, or is it because we think that the guy is so smart that he is parodying everything? And that's kind of where I'm at, where it's just like, if you're saying everything in this game, or if anybody is saying everything in this game is a parody of something else, then I kind of have to push back, because I kind of feel like it's not like there weren't games coming out at that time with characters that acted just like this. So like we can't say with 100% certainty that he is parodying that, because he's also like of the times as well.
I will bet my life that 99% of this game is a parody. That's just Suda's. That's his stick.
I mean, I get that, but I guess what I'm saying is like I don't necessarily think that everything in this game is well executed. So like it may be a parody, but it's.
I agree with that too, but this dude's also not known for well executing games. I'm sorry. I was about to say Deadly Premonitions, but that's sweary. But I feel like Suda51 also exists in that same wheelhouse where, like, he is a person who makes renowned cult classic games that don't play well. They are better than the sum of their parts.
I guess it's just kind of like if all his games are over the top and everything, and then it's just, I don't know. Like, his name is Travis Touchdown. So it's not like if his name was like Travis Smith or something like that, or whatever, like some regular Joe Schmo style name, then I guess then he'd be like, oh, like he's clearly not trying to reference anything. So like he definitely has like a Duke Nukem, like Marcus Phoenix, Serious Sam's style name, and like
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you got it.
Yeah, I was gonna say my take on this entire game, and I'm just gonna get my big take out of the way, is that Suda51 designed a game around what he thinks people who don't play games think about games.
That sounds about right.
I mean, that sounds accurate, but I don't know. I don't know. Like it's it has the open world part. It has the sure.
Like it does all this stuff. It does it kind of bad in a weird way. It also, like, all the characters are super...
That's the thing that I would push back on. It does the things, but because it does it bad is parodying those games. And, like, that's the disconnect that I'm having. So, like, I get the job system is, like, referencing, like, oh, you have to do all these odd jobs and everything in video games. And they're usually really dumb and really boring. So it makes sense to have really dumb and really boring jobs that you have to do in order to make money. But like at a certain point, like you don't get bonus points for being smart. If the stuff is crappy or shitty, it's crappy or shitty regardless if you're making fun of something or not. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I think that's this dude's craft, to be perfectly honest. Like, I don't think he was trying to make a quote unquote 8.0 Metacritic game. He was gonna do his thing and slip in all of his stupidness just because that's who he is as a game developer.
Mm-hmm. And then the thing is that you say that, but then the second game they remove that stuff and they like tweak it. So it's like, is it because
I feel like they had to listen to the critics at some point? They were going to make a sequel.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I don't know. we don't have to talk about this anymore. Like,
No, I mean, I feel you, and I know you get what I'm saying too. So
yeah.
My only disconnect with it is the fact that they have this humor throughout the whole game, but I honestly don't remember them breaking the fourth wall until the very end of it, which really took me out of it a little bit. Like, if they had done that kind of sprinkled throughout the game, I would have been like, okay, that's the vibe of this game. But when they didn't do that till the end, where like you're fighting Jean and she's just like the whole thing where they fast forward her little speech and she's just like, yeah, but then they'd have to up the rating on the game, like the mature rating or whatever. And then there wouldn't be a sequel or something like that. But that kind of took me out of the humor a little bit because they did that and not throughout the entire game.
I feel like that's the vibe of the entire game. Like, even though they don't explicitly say it like that, like, this game is super not self-serious.
Yeah,
in the same way like a Conker's Bad Fur Day or something like that.
They do enough one-off gaffes that this is just one of those things, and I agree that it took me out, but it also, I feel like if it was sprinkled throughout the game, it wouldn't have the same impact. And that specific scene you're referring to is meant to have some sort of it's meant to have an impact, and it's meant to be memorable. And if that was sprinkled throughout the game, in my opinion, that last scene wouldn't work and be as memorable, because I'm willing to bet that that is a moment that people talk about when they talk about this game.
Well, you know, the main character,
huh?
You know who the main character really reminds me of?
Who's that?
And I didn't even know until after I finished the game. I think I tried to watch like a summary of the story just so I could remember all of it. But he really reminds me of Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like with his humor and just the tone of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, go ahead.
But yeah, there's none of those fourth wall breaking references until you get to the end. I don't know. It was just kind
I felt like there was maybe
trying...
one more sprinkled in before then, but I can't remember right now.
It's because he's trying to parody Deadpool, and Deadpool does it all the time. So when he does it once, then it's really smart.
Well, I was gonna say is it like exists in the exact same wheelhouse as a Deadpool, and like Marcus was saying, it's pretty much just a one-off thing. Like, I don't think they do any more with that fourth wall breaking stuff in 2 or Desperate Struggle, from what I remember. Granted, I don't remember anything about 2.
I was gonna say, what do you remember from 2? I don't know. Like I said, I think it was mostly for impact. I think that it would have lessened some of the impact that last scene would have had if it was
would have really lessened the gravitas of
exactly. I mean, we probably need to talk about the game like this. This is how people on the internet talk about this game. Is there anything else with the? Let's see. So we covered that. So I guess we've all kind of like talked about different things that we dislike, but like this is the opportunity for everybody to say the things. So I'm gonna do something different. Greg, what were the things?
Also,
go ahead.
I was gonna say the things we do like too.
Yeah. That was what I was gonna say. So, Greg, what were the things that you enjoyed? This is your opportunity to speak on it. What were your some of your favorite things about this game and things that you enjoyed?
Like just particular instances, or just kind of like my general feelings on the game.
Feelings and instances, or feelings. We'll say feelings. Like, I'll set you up so you see.
Okay.
So some of the things that I enjoyed, I really like the characterization and just how unique the boss character or assassins were. I really, really dug them, and like I said, that will be when I talk about this game, that will be the things I talk about. I was talking about those various characters. I did like the open world. It was very interesting for me to be kind of teleported back to like lesser open world. I don't play a lot of open world games anymore, but like kind of playing a game that kind of reminded me of Crazy Taxi was very interesting. So I really like that feeling of kind of being like I'm playing a pseudo modern game, but it's built like an old game and it makes me think of an old game, and I thought that was really interesting. And I really did. I enjoyed the way the game had you unlocking things. So I enjoyed doing the collectibles for the balls because then you got unique abilities, which I don't know if any of you guys did. Any of you guys do the ball stuff?
Yeah, I got 3 or 4 abilities out of it, but I didn't go and unlock everything because I got the ones that I thought would be most important and would help the most, and I just kind of stopped after that.
I didn't
Same
like
here.
purposely.
I just got a few of them.
A few of the abilities.
Yeah, the ones that I thought would be effective in combat, like not the ones that added skills or anything like that or moves. I just got the ones that were kind of like more passive abilities.
Gotcha. Yeah. I didn't like go out of my way to like get all the. I mean, I did get all the balls, but I didn't like go out of my way and just like I'm gonna sit down and spend the next hour doing this. It was just like, oh, I'm on this side of the level, and I see the little blip. I'm just gonna go to it, and that's kind of how I did it. And they were pretty easy enough to get, so that wasn't that big of a deal. But I did like how it added things to the game. So like, and I was hoping there was going to be a Killer 7 like reference or mention in this game, and that it came through in the abilities that you got from the ball, were each centered on one of the characters in Killer 7. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so like obviously like the grapple one was based off the luchador dude. The speed one was based off the kid. The I'm trying to think. There was one that was referenced to woman, which was obvious. Oh, the having a longer dark side time was based off the sniper, the girl with the pistol. So like each of them were based off of one of the characters from Killer 7. So I appreciated them having that little nod to a game that we had played.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. Like when I found that out, I was like, I need to get all these. I was like, I want to get all these because I was like, that's cool. What about you, Greg? Now, what were some of the things that you enjoyed?
I think the things that are going to stick with me the most with this game is like just the style of the game in general. Like, you know, it's got a really unique style as far as like visual style. Not only that, just the cuts that they make, camera cuts. This game just kind of like oozes style, I guess. Like, I guess that's like a bad way of like explaining that, but I mean, it's just a cool looking game in my opinion, you know, like graphically. And the fact that all the boss fights, they all have like, they're all unique as far as how they're designed. Like, those are probably like the main things that I'll remember about the game. You know, the combat was, I mean, it was good enough, you know, like it was cool enough to where I didn't really get super bored with it. I mean, it's not engaging, but like I never got super tired of it, you know. Like early on it was a little bit rough, but like once I really like got used to it, it wasn't really that, you know, that hard to manage. So but yeah, for sure it's like the actual style of the game, and then the boss fights are like the two most to me the two parts that stick out the most.
What about you, Dante? What were some of your
That's a good question, because this game is one where like I can kind of respect a lot about it, but the stuff I respect I also kind of dislike in a lot of ways. So I like the character, oh man, I can't even say I like the character designs because some of those are just gross. But I like the premise of this game in a lot of ways. So I like the setup of the, I guess, rise to glory of Travis and trying to get through these 11, you know, unique assassins to reach this top rank. I think on a fundamental level, that's good. I think the execution of that is also pretty good, where like the interstitials and like seeing Travis, it feels weird saying Travis grow, but Travis does change a little bit as he progresses through the rank, and seeing that was pretty good. I like the concept of having very unique bosses, and I like the setup they did for a lot of the bosses, even though the fights themselves, a lot of cases, were not great. The combat has some depth to it, but ends up getting really bogged down by a lot of QTEs and other gimmick stuff. So I think they had a solid idea for the combat. I think the music was serviceable at times, and stylistically, I like the art direction. I won't say I actually like the graphics of the game, but I like the direction they went with it.
Okay. Yeah, I should have also said, yeah, I really like the premise or like elevator pitch. I think it's a really cool, like, if you tell me that, like, I'm definitely intrigued. Just like, oh, like this guy has to kill other assassins and he has to rank up. Like, that sounds cool.
I also occasionally like the humor. Occasionally.
So when we get to the bad parts, you're going to say, I also occasionally don't like the humor. Occasionally.
I tried to backfill everything. I tried not to, what's that term? Backhand?
Backhanded compliment?
Yeah, essentially I backhanded everything I said, if you didn't know. Like, and that's how I feel about this game. I'm like, oh, well, this is kind of okay, but there's this other part of it that kind of ruins it. Oh,
Yeah.
all these boss fights are kind of okay, but then they do stupid stuff like the magician dude. We'll get into him at some point, hopefully,
Yeah.
and we can talk about that fight, and along with a couple other fights. And then, like, the combat, and I guess this is something specific. I shouldn't say specific to the PS3 version, but augmented in the PS3 version, where, like, there is major frame rate problems on the PS3. So, like, the baseball field fight you do right before the rank 2 fight, I hit single-digit frame rates at one point.
Wow.
Nice.
It was real bad. So, like, the frame rate stuff, and then also, you know, I know this game isn't supposed to be, like, the most deep fighter or whatever, but the amount of, I guess, QTEs that got stitched into every single fight, like, literally every enemy, once you knock down their health bar, you get a directional prompt, at least on the PS3 you do. And essentially that's how you do your finisher. And just, you know, if you're fighting, let's say, 1,000 enemies over the course of the game, and let's say you do that for 80% of them, that means you're going to be just doing these QTEs 800 times. And even the wrestling moves, you grab the enemy, then it gives you one prompt, and depending on the wrestling move, you might get another prompt afterwards. So it just kind of slows down the gameplay in a way that I know I wouldn't have been as critical of in, like, middle school, but, like, current me doesn't really have time for, like, a QTE fest.
Well, you had time today. What about you, Trevor? What were the things that you enjoyed?
Like y'all, I really like the premise of this game. Probably my favorite thing would be the character design. I like how they made the bosses, like, really varied, which is one thing I liked about Killer 7 too. You know, it gives it like that Scott Pilgrim type feel. I think those are my two favorite things about the game. The combat was okay. I liked it. I mean, it's so.
Is that a backhanded compliment from Trevor too?
No. I'm just saying on that scale, it would fall into the category of things I liked versus disliked or just kind of on the fence about.
This definitely seemed like a Trevor combat type of game.
Dang. Talking about I just mashed 2 buttons the whole game.
That's Greg's fortune.
Am I wrong?
and how much I like QuickTime events.
Well, I wanted to do the nitpicks as well, but I know Dante said he wanted to talk on some of the story stuff. Do you want to knock out the nitpicks now, and then we can get into the story? Is that cool, Dante?
Yeah, I guess I already kind of did my nitpicks in the process of doing my compliments.
It's okay. It's okay. Do you have any more that you want to add?
No, I mean, the only thing that I didn't say right there in that little segment was I just don't think the open world adds anything of value to this game.
So I'll let you start this time, Trevor. What are your nitpicks?
My nitpicks. I don't think this game is bad. It's just
Fine.
not well executed in a lot of areas. Like,
But it's a parody on bad games.
is there really a market for that though?
There can be.
Like, are there people like, hey, dang,
Don't they come out with the Dynasty Warriors like every year?
Yeah.
Hey, take that back. I actually started playing Dynasty Warriors as a persona, and it's all right.
Earth Defense
And
Force?
say what you will, this game has a big cult following. I am not justifying this game design at all. I'm just saying there are people that just don't care about gameplay.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad game. I enjoyed it for what it was. It just seemed, a lot of times, it just seemed kind of hollow.
So, like, just to clarify, I know you felt it was hollow in the open world part and it wasn't fleshed out. Maybe you're also saying, like, the combat was also hollow.
I'm saying, I don't think the combat was hollow because, especially considering Killer 7 as well, I think they have a way of utilizing every single button on a controller to do something. So I think they did exactly what they wanted to do with the combat, if that makes sense.
So you're saying
whether
that
whether
because-
that be good or bad, I think this is what they intended to do with the combat. And I know it's been ported from the Wii over to the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of combat, I think this game did what it set out to do.
Okay. You had any other nitpicks?
But yeah, as far as like I think the story is very hollow as well. If you came here for the story, shalom. There's a lot of, I don't know, it just seems like they made up the story along the way.
Definitely an afterthought.
I mean, I know Marcus is going to make fun of me again for it, but I really do feel like that was intentional, like, just being like, yo, you're just going to keep going up this list like it's a Mortal Kombat tower, and you're going to get to the...
But that's the part that's cool. Like, that's the part that is interesting, and, like, that's the part I'm here for. But it's just, like, that could be the story. I don't need to be, like, the twists and the reasonings and stuff at the end of the game. I don't necessarily... And we'll talk about it.
Well, that's also parody, though. Like, the whole I am your... Not,
I know. And I'm saying it didn't need to be there.
So
Yeah.
if we are going to lock in on this parody idea, this game is just a parody of video games or pop culture, whatever, Johnny Bravo. It's not very clever. I'll say that.
Thank you.
I mean, parodies rarely are, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I think that you guys have not had great experiences with good parodies, which is, like, I think a lot of them are not good, but I feel like when there are good parodies of things, they can, like, I don't know. Like I was gonna say, they can become cult classics, and I'm, like, literally talking about this game, but, like, to me, this game doesn't hit the mark.
Okay.
And maybe it's because of the things that I'm referring to when I'm thinking of movies. Like, for example, Shaun of the Dead. I think that's a parody movie on zombie movies, and that's, like, one of my favorite, like, zombie movies. And I think that, like, objectively is a good movie, and it's a good zombie movie, and it does something new and unique with the genre. Whereas I feel like this game is not doing new... It's doing new and unique things, but I don't feel like it's leading to anything besides this franchise being able to exist, I guess. I don't think other, like, places are taking ideas from this, and I don't know. I know it's different with video games versus film, though, too, so maybe it's not a fair metric to say.
I think he was just trying to make a cool game. They just parodied stuff.
I mean, and that's fine, but like, yeah, I don't know if I would say this is a cool game. This is a game.
You 100%ed this, dude.
No, I didn't. No, I did not.
You went out of your way for a lot of stuff.
Well, when we get to my nitpicks, and some of
This is my Phoenix Wright parody, by the way. Right now, I'm holding you accountable.
Okay.
Defend yourself.
Are you done? Did you get all your nitpicks out the way?
I think so.
And did you go, Greg?
No, I haven't gone yet.
So go ahead, man. Speak your truth.
I mean, like everybody, well, I guess with the exception of Mark, but like I thought the open world was kind of boring. I didn't really, I don't really think we needed it. I get why it's there. I mean, that's part of the, I guess part of the joke. But yeah, I mean, I could have done without it. The story was kind of, obviously like it's not really meant to be like some well thought out narrative. I think it's just kind of an excuse to just throw a bunch of bosses together, which is fine for what this is. But yeah, I would say like just my main complaint would just be like I felt like the open world wasn't really needed.
And I'll just say for me, my nitpicks were I didn't really care for the story. I didn't really care for the humor in this game. There, like I will say, I'm the opposite end of Dante. I know he said occasionally he didn't like it. I would say occasionally I did like it, as well.
I think I was misquoted there.
Oh, okay. Then you
definitely...
said occasionally you do like it, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm the same boat, but I'm saying it under the nitpicks because it sounds like that's more of a nitpick than a pro. And I did not care for the combat in this game, and it just really wasn't fun. I didn't really like the boss fights themselves. They were more frustrating than fun for me personally. And I didn't like... I like that they switched it up so it wasn't like every single fight you had to fight something. They gave you a little bit of break in between, but I would have wished there was more variety in the boss fights, so there was a lack of that in the boss fights personally. I guess I can say it now, my lukewarm take or whatever is that this game is basically like a 3D brawler instead of like it's less Devil May Cry Ninja Gaiden and more like a beat 'em up. And so like when I started thinking about the game that way, it started like showing me like, oh, like this makes sense why the characters that you're fighting are only like these 3 archetypes or whatever, and maybe they're reskinned with a different costume. Like that kind of checked for me, and then it also kind of reinforced why the combat was so stale and stagnant, was because like it was like more of like a beat 'em up and less like Devil May Cry. So like once I started thinking about the game like that, I was kind of like not judging it and under the same scope or whatever. But I like I said, I don't think that's like a groundbreaking take or whatever, anything like that. But it was just like when I read that in a review and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Another thing I was thinking is like, and we'll get to it. Actually, I won't say it now. I'll hold it close to the chest so when we talk about the stuff afterwards. But you want to get into the story and just I'll let you kick it off, Dante.
I mean, there's not much of a story if we're being perfectly honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty much like, okay, this is pretty much the loop of the game. You get a call saying, well, you don't even get a call. Like, you beat the previous boss. You get a letter saying, hey, we need you to deposit this money so you can fight the next boss. You do some chests around town, some chores, and put in the money in the ATM, go back to your apartment. Sylvia calls you. She'll tell you where the next assassin's located. You drive to that place, you kill him, then you repeat the process. So pretty much the entire story of the game is... See, I feel like... Are we going to go back and kind of like talk about any of the assassins, or have we kind of already done that?
If you want, I can just kind of do a quick breakdown of each one.
Yeah, like go all the way till I guess the second to last one.
Okay, so obviously, you fight Helter Skelter like beforehand. Like you actually don't fight it. That's somebody that Travis fights. The 10th ranked one is Death Metal, who's like a dude with this huge sword. There's really nothing special about him. The next one is that doctor I mentioned, Dr. Peace. He's the one that can sing. He fights you with guns. He fights you in the baseball field. The 8th one is Shinobu, which is the African American high school student. That's the samurai. And her fight is unique in the sense that, this was one of my least favorite fights. But she when it gets time to kill these people, it goes into a cutscene when you land that final blow to take their health all the way down. Then it goes to a cutscene. So previously against Dr. Peace and against Death Metal, you see him have no hesitation to like deal that death blow. Like maybe the person will have their last words and then he'll like stab them or cut their head off or whatever. When it comes to him, to Shinobu, you see Travis, you see him hesitate. And one of the reasons why is that he knows that she is trying to get revenge for the death of her father, and she assumes that you were the one that killed her father, so that's why she like kind of goes ham and starts attacking you, and you're like, wait, no, I didn't do it. But then later on you find out that he doesn't kill women. So he wasn't going to kill her, but since she's a samurai, like she's like, you have to finish me off. Like this is, honorable. Like, so what he ends up doing is I think he slices off one of her hands, and then he basically says like, I'm not going to kill you, but when you get your strength back, you can come find me when you're older, and we can fight again. And he basically spares her. The next fight is against the mailman, who's a part-time mailman, part-time superhero, Destroy Man, and he had a very The Boys-esque vibe, where he was like this very like raunchy, sadistic like superhero character. He was always trying to do cheap shots, and like so you see him and he's wearing red, white, and blue, and you think, oh, he's very honorable and everything, but he's using the cheapest tactics possible in order to attack you, basically. And then the next fight is against Holly Summers, who's like she's like a chick that wears military clothing. She fights you with grenades, and she has a prosthetic leg. She's on the beach, and you're fighting her, and for whatever reason, Travis thinks she's very attractive, so he's like trying to get with her during the fight too, or like in the cutscenes. And at the end, when you land the killing blow or whatever, like the last hit, she's like, she likes your style, and she's like, well, finish me off. And Travis like, no, I can't. Again, not being able to kill women or whatever. So she kisses him on the cheek and basically like, you're cute. And then you see her pull a grenade and blow herself up. And he ends up giving her, because she committed suicide or whatever, and he reveals to Sylvia at this point that he has an issue killing women. He basically carries her and like does like an honorable, I guess, burial for her. The 5th rank one is that Let's Shake guy, which is like this really like nerdy punk rock dude that has this huge like bomb shaped device that he's activating. So like when he's on like this very like open stretch of road, like in the desert, that's just like a straight shot, and Travis is running up to him, and he's just like activating this machine, and he's like countdown 3, 2, and then he stops, and he has this wide-eyed expression, and you see that somebody came from up above and like sliced him or something and killed him, and then you're like, who the hell killed this person? And it's another assassin named Henry. And so then you meet Henry, and he's this Irish assassin, and he's throwing insults, and you guys are insulting each other. And then you two are about to get into a fight, and then Sylvia steps in and stops the fight. And when Travis turns around to like really look at Henry, then he's gone. So you kind of meet this new mysterious character. Is this? Am I doing this correctly right now, guys? Is this how you wanted it, Dante?
Yeah, it seems fine.
Okay. Rank 4 is Harvey Volodarsky. So this one in particular, Sylvia at this point, she's getting more and more impressed by you and just trying to get you all hot and heavy for her. So like she's like the beginning of this fight, she calls you and she's like, I'm getting, rubbed down for our date, oil massage. And you're like, a date? Like, and she's like, yeah, I want to take you to the show. And he's like, Travis gets very excited, obviously, and because he's a horny pervert. And you go to the theater, and you and Sylvia, she's dressed up, and you meet her there, and you're the only two in the audience. The lights turn on, and then this guy pops up, and he's a magician, and he's doing all these magic tricks. And he has two assistants with him, and he calls for somebody out of the audience to help him with this next trick. And obviously the trick is the spotlight shines on you, so you go up on stage, and then your guys' fight basically starts shortly after that. And I think the way that you land the killing blow on him is basically you slice him in his face, so he's blinded, and you strap him up to one of his devices and let the device kill him, so like saw blades or whatever that's supposed to saw him in half. The third fight is Speedbuster, and this one is you take a bus to get to this person, and it ends up being an elderly woman with a shopping cart. And there's these energy blasts that are being she's shooting that basically push you back, and so you have to like zigzag up this corridor, dodging the energy blasts that are pushing you back, and like getting behind cover and fighting other enemies. And then when you get up to her, you basically slice her long ass like cannon in half and basically kill her. I guess the only thing of note is that at this point, your master, which they didn't do, in my opinion, do a good enough job of like creating this, showcasing this relationship. But your master was the gym leader, the leader of that gym. So like when you first get there, your master's like, you're like, master, what are you doing? And he's like, hold up, I got her, I'll handle this. And she ends up killing your master, and so you're like salty about that. But so yeah, you kill Speedbuster. The second ranked fight is against Bad Girl, who is an alcoholic young chick that lives, I guess, in the basement of the baseball stadium. And she's basically, she's not even an assassin, she's like a psychopath. And so like, she's basically, her hobby is murdering dudes that are dressed up in like BDSM gear with their baseball bat. She's basically using them for batting practice and everything. And she is dressed up like as a schoolgirl, I guess, a cutesy, like, I don't even know how you describe it. She's wearing anime girl clothes, anime schoolgirl clothes.
She's like Harley Quinn.
Sure. But she
think she was a parody of Princess Peach.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Really? Like which aspect?
With the pink dress and like blonde hair and how they did it. Like,
I thought it was
could be
a
wrong
parody
with
of Harley Quinn, but I don't know.
Just the baseball bat and just
her demeanor,
being able to like fake tears and then trick you into so you fight her, and then the last fight you meet this person named Darkstar in this woods that the woods are called the Bewildering Forest, and they operate very similarly to the Lost Woods in Zelda, where you have to do the exact correct route. Otherwise, you just keep teleporting to the beginning. And you're getting aided in this by the ghost of your master. So he's like pointing you in the direction you need to go. But there's just this guy. He has this huge metal suit like of armor on with this mask. And you're like, I don't even know who you are. And then he's like, I'm Darkstar. I'm your father. And then he takes off his mask. You're like, you don't remember me? He's like, no, I don't remember you. And then you see that Travis has like a flashback in his head to his murder of his parents. They were both murdered, And he's like, but do you remember who did it? Do you remember who did it? And he's like thinking, he's like, no, I can't remember the face. He's like, think harder, think harder. And then you just see him like thinking of a girl. And for whatever reason, instead of the face, the thing that he's zooming in on is her boobs, because it's Travis. And then at some point you see like a silhouette of her, and then the guy basically is sliced in two, and then the real first person arrives as Jean, and she basically fights you, and she's like the only person that does like hand-to-hand combat. She's very much like I don't even know what the fighting style is, but she you fight her, and then once you kill her, or let me rephrase that. She has an opening what do you call it, monologue, where she kind of is like, I have all the reason in the world, and then she's like, I'll tell you, but it'll be too slow. Or this is the part where she breaks the fourth wall, and she says like, it'll take too long and it'll bore the players, and we won't see that. And then Travis is like, well, we can just fast forward through that. So then you see that the game kind of like fast forwards, so them two are having a conversation, but you have no idea what's going on. And it's not till, if you go on YouTube, you can watch people that basically recorded this section of the game and then slowed it down in order to watch it. And basically her story, I'm guessing, I know me, Trevor, and Dante watched it, but did you watch it, Greg?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So basically her story is that she is Travis's forgotten half-sister. And so basically his mom and dad his dad got with her mom and didn't take care of them and hit her. I don't remember what happened to her mom, but she died. And so he was the sole provider for the sister, for Jean. And so he had her holed up in like a hotel or whatever, and he would just go over there and molest her. And so like she had a pretty traumatic upbringing. So her revenge was basically like, oh, I'm the forgotten person and you are taking advantage of me and just like treating me poorly, so I'm going to kill you. And she, kills his wife too. And I don't know why. I don't think she says why she leaves Travis alive, but he is left alive and just discovers, the aftermath, sees her and discovers the aftermath of that. The other thing, there was something I forgot though. When you were leading up to, I think it was right before the third fight, you get a message that says that Sylvia, don't try to follow me or something like that. Don't. Sylvia sends it to Travis, says, don't try to follow me, I'm going to be gone. And so he doesn't hear anything from her, so he's like really weirded out, and she's been leaving him he's been getting business cards or something from her. So he ends up calling the number finally before the first fight, and then you hear an older woman on the phone, and she's like, hello, who is this? And he's like, hey, is this Sylvia? And he's like, no, this is her mother, how can I help you? And he's like, I'm trying to get a hold of the UAA or whatever. And she's like, a long pause, and she's like, she scammed you too. You're not the first one. And basically like Sylvia has this, she's a con artist, and basically she tricks people into doing things, I guess. It doesn't like it doesn't lead me to believe that it's always been about killing people, but she just like cons people into doing things, that just for her own sick enjoyment or whatever. So he's like, what do you mean? Like, she told me that we would do it, and like, what about the UAA and all that? And then the mom is like, well, like, are you gonna quit? Because all you need to do is go to the castle and kill the number one, which is very weird to me too, that she knew about this stuff or whatever. But he ends up like, yeah, like, I'm gonna see it through because I'm gonna get with her or whatever. And yeah, so you fast forward again, so you're fighting Jean, and you end up cutting off her hand and just cutting up the rest of her body after you kill her. And that after that battle, you get the option to return to just the open world to see the ending or see the real ending. And so the regular ending is Travis is back in his bathroom at his motel, and he's using the bathroom, and then somebody cuts down his door to challenge Travis, who's now the number one assassin, to a fight, and basically the game ends with Travis looking super surprised and caught off guard. And then the true ending, which I think you can only get if you've purchased all the swords, is just the same ending, except for the guy, instead of it cutting to the credits, the guy gets cut in half. And he gets cut in half by Henry. And Henry's like, hurry up, dude. You finish what you're doing and then come meet me outside. And then they basically get in a fight in the parking lot of the motel. And then this is playable, so you as Travis fight Henry in the parking lot. And after you beat him, it's revealed that Henry is Travis's twin brother. And Henry is super surprised that Travis didn't figure this out sooner. And then it's also revealed that Henry has been married to Sylvia for 10 years and that she had no intention of ever sleeping with Travis. And then they keep talking. They're like, at this point, they have their swords locked and they're just running up the street talking to each other with swords locked. And then they have some type of pushback, so they're on opposite sides of the screen, and it's like a side scrolling, and then they're on either side and they run at each other and they swing swords, and the game kind of goes to like a Rocky 3-esque kind of ending where they're clashed, and then it's this freeze frame and it's like zooming out, and then you see that it's actually like a photo, and then you see that Sylvia is standing in front of the photo, and she a blonde little girl is standing in front of the photo. It's like at a museum or whatever. And then you see Sylvia, who is adult Sylvia, walks up to the little girl, and then she says, "Come on, Jean, it's time to go." And then Sylvia makes, this is another fourth wall breaking thing, but she kind of makes a note to the player. She's like, "I bet you didn't think her name was Jean, did you?" And then she was like, "Too bad there won't be a sequel." And then the game goes to the credits, and that's the end of the game, the true ending. So there's a lot there. A lot and a little. It's like everything is like packed into the end of the game, and also it's just so nonsense.
That's the point.
I know, but I think it does its job, because it's like, oh, I'm intrigued now. I want to see what's going on after this, even though I don't necessarily like the game itself. It's just like, I need to see what's going on with this story now, That was my takeaway when I read that. I was like, let me see what's going on. Yeah. I'm assuming none of us saw the true ending, because I'm assuming none of us upgraded or got all the sword.
Nah, when I saw how much it cost, I was like, nah.
$500,000 or something like that. I was like,
I was like, nah, I'm good.
I thought about it. I was like, because I was going to buy all the clothes in the game, but then like, I didn't realize that every time you beat a thing, you would unlock more clothes. So like, I had bought all the clothes the first 2 times, and I was like, man, these clothes are getting more and more expensive. And I was just like, you know what, F that. So then like, in hindsight, it's like, if I hadn't bought as much clothes as I bought, I could have used that to buy that beam sword. But I'm okay with having watched the trailer, or the somebody else do it, because ain't no way I was gonna, like, I don't even know if the fight with Henry was hard, but I wasn't trying to do another boss fight, so
yeah, I think
combat was not that fun.
When I got to rank 2, I think the last fight's like 550,000, and like I had maybe like 280 or something like that, and I was like, oh no, ain't no way I'm gonna get that much money to buy this, then have to build up 550 to go do the final fight. I'm like, nah.
Was there what was the anything particular story wise that you wanted to comment on, Dante? Because I know.
Nah. I think I'm good.
Okay. Do you have anything, Trevor, story wise, that you wanted to?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It was just the ending. I was gonna get y'all's takes on it, as far as whether or not y'all were satisfied with it.
I'm not mad at it. I guess.
Yeah,
Go
like
ahead.
you go.
No, I was gonna say it wasn't like I was expecting too much more out of it. To be honest, like given the let's say the care that they've used for the narrative throughout the game, I'm not too mad at how they ended it. It kind of is what it is.
Going back to Marcus's thing about like there being a lot of one-time gags, them throwing that much exposition in the last like 10 minutes of the game was one of those. So I don't think they were trying to sell you on like the end or trying to make a quote unquote good ending, so to speak. It was just kind of another one of their things where they're like, oh, well, we can get another one of these jokes in.
I
That's
honestly,
what we do with this game.
To me, it felt like they definitely wanted to have a second game made. Whereas, like, I think that the game itself would have been like, if you play this game and it ended like the way that we think was heading, like, sure, like, game's over. But the way they did it was like, oh, like people are going to talk about this, remember this, and I felt like it was a slick way to guarantee that they were going to get a sequel, even like mentioning it and stuff. So like, I feel like he knew what he was doing, you know, like all these fools are going to eat this up. And speaking of the sequel,
before
go ahead.
Before you go into the sequel, just to go back to the ending. What was the cleaner's name from Killer 7? The black guy?
Garcian Smith, I think.
Do any of y'all think that was him busting in the door while you were on the toilet at the end?
I didn't even think about that.
It looked like him, but it actually, the guy has he has a name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the guy's name is like.
Well, I know it's not him, but.
Gotcha. Yeah. I thought that too, but then. And especially, too, because I was thinking, like, hey, man, I got a job for you or whatever, you know? Like, that would have been cool. Like, honestly, it would be cool if there was, like, I know they only made one Killer 7, but, like, if they had brought in Travis as one of the personalities or whatever. But I do feel like...
So,
go ahead.
I was going to say on the No More Heroes wiki, they say Ermin Palmer's homage to Emir... Park Rainer from Killer 7. Since the character is legally owned by Capcom, this may be the only way Amir could appear.
I thought it was Garshin. The thing that I wanted to say that I held close to my chest earlier was that this game kind of reminds me of, like, not in the gameplay or anything, but just like the legacy. It's like Assassin's Creed, where it's like it has really good ideas. The first Assassin's Creed, it has really good ideas, but it took some fine tuning for them to get to the ideal game. And I feel like this game has like enough to go off of that. More fine tuning would obviously happen because they came out with a second game and they're coming out with a third game to kind of, I think, hit what the idealized version of this game is, if that makes any sense. Because I enjoyed the first Assassin's Creed. It had like cool idea of like, oh, you gotta, these targets, but there was the monotonous stuff beforehand where you had to get a certain reputation in the city, and then a lot of the different parts of the cities, it was the same side missions that you do in just different cities. It was very repetitive outside of the main missions. I will say that this game is a little bit more repetitive because it has the same format, where I feel like there was a little bit more fun, like kind of choose your own adventure style in Assassin's Creed, even in the first one that this game didn't. Well, I mean, like I'm saying like how you get to a guy. Maybe not the way you kill him or whatever, but like. And it probably gets better later where you can make it look like it was an accident, or you can just kill the person in combat, or you can like just run up to him and shank, like this game is like you fight this person and you're fighting him this way. And I feel like at least even in the first Assassin's Creed, you had like a couple of different options. But maybe I'm tripping because it has been a while since I played that game.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to my experience with Assassin's Creed, and I was like, I can't remember. I can't remember if I even did that much in it as far as like changing up how I approached every mission, I guess.
I guess it's like Dishonored, where you can choose violence and kill everybody leading up to the target, or you can sneak around them. Whereas I feel like
now we're switching genres at this point.
Sure.
So it would be kind of more applicable to go to like a Devil May Cry or a Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
With how you fight, like the combat.
Sure. Well, I guess ultimately what I was trying to say is that I feel like this game is like, there are good ideas in this game, and I think that they would be fleshed out, and presumably would be fleshed out in later games, similar to Assassin's Creed. Like the idea was good, and then it just got fine-tuned and refined in later iterations. And what I was going to say is, with the sequel, I just pulled up like some of the differences, some of the things that they tweaked. So the sequel came out in 2010. So it was set 3 years after the conclusion of the first game. You're in revenge for the killing of Bishop, who is your best friend, and he is the person that runs Beefhead Videos, the guy that you rent movies from. And this time,
I get it. This you kill Bishop, so this game is a parody of Juice.
Yep.
I see where they're going with this.
And this time you start off at rank 51, but you're not taking everybody down in front of you, because I think the way it says is many ranked assassins are killed by off-screen characters and stuff like that. And there are, I think they say Henry and Shinobu are playable characters in this game. Sylvia is also in this game. And then they just reference some of the characters in the previous game. So like in the first game, that first character you fight in the cutscene is Helter Skelter. And so the first fight in this game is Skelter Helter, who is his brother. But anyway, some of the differences or things they did was the main objective remains to earn enough cash in order to enter for the next battle, and you can still have the open world part with the motorcycle and drive around to different locations and send to destroy. But one of the biggest challenges is like the way you make money is now through like 8-bit mini games. And so instead of doing like menial tasks and stuff, like you're still doing things like catching coconuts and like you're flipping burgers, but you're doing it in like actual like 8-bit mini games. Side jobs are also the only way to make money in the game, but ranked matches no longer require entrance fees, so your money is only spent on clothes, training at the gym, and getting new beam katanas. So like that's the main thing that they adjusted. And then some combat stuff, but I think just seeing the open world stuff being tweaked and stuff was like a direct addressing your guys' critique on the parody that is their open world. Did I do it right?
Does anybody have any interest in playing the sequel? If they haven't,
I do. I hate that I do, but I do. And I think the reason why I do is that this game is also on the Switch, and because they have later this year, No More Heroes 3 is coming out August 27th. So I'm like, you know what? There's only 3 games or 3 main entry games in this series, and the third one's about to come out. So I might want to be like, okay, what's going on with this? The other thing though is there is another game in the series called. There was a spin-off called No More Heroes World Ranker, which was an Android and iOS game, but it was in Japan only, and you created your own assassin and completed missions by killing assassins to rank up. But the game was removed from the servers, and then there was also Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes, which came out in 2019 as a Switch game, and it was like a side game.
It's a top-down.
Yeah, top-down perspective instead of the third person, and you fight Bad Man, who is the father of Bad Girl, who is the second assassin in the first game. But so I watched the trailer for it, but basically he sneaks up on Travis and is like gonna attack him. Travis is like he has a video game going on, and he thinks the guy thinks he's about to attack Travis. Then he goes to swing, and then you hear a toilet flush, and Travis comes out from the back room from behind him, zipping up his pants, and he's like, "What the hell?" And then for whatever reason, the video game console gets possessed and sucks them into the video game, and so there's a lot of references to other video games and whatnot in that game. I guess it's a parody on video games.
I mean, that seems pretty obvious, but I do have some go backs.
Okay.
So the Ermin Palmer guy I was talking about, and Amir Park Rayner. Apparently, Park Rayner was like, I haven't played Killer 7, but I guess the previous version of Garcia and Smith or something like that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
He was
They show him having 3 eyes?
Yes. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So there was that. And the other one I had, or the other point I had was, so Helter Skelter and a couple of the No More Heroes 2 boss fights actually show up in the PS3 version of this game. So in between the assassination missions, when you go back to your apartment, Travis will be on the toilet and it's like catch some Z's, and you do that and it takes you to this like wrestling arena. And during these wrestling arena moments, I think most of the bosses come from No More Heroes 2. Some of them I assume they can't all be from it, because I think there's almost one after every single mission. But you fight Helter Skelter. You fight the rank 2 person whose name I forget. She has... I'm not going to spoil it because nobody's played No More Heroes 2 other than me. And there's like 2 or 3 other ones I checked that... I mean, allegedly. Yeah. I do remember the 8-bit minigames, though, specifically. I remember that. And I remember the new trainer that you get at the gym. So there are little bits and pieces of No More Heroes 2 that apparently I remember.
Gotcha. So I looked up some of the things also that the PS3 version had. And so the PS3 version supports PlayStation Move, so you could play the game like how it originally was meant to be played, like, or how it was played on the Wii. So in case you wanted the motion controls. They also added optional Japanese language voiceovers. They added, so the difficulties in this game were sweet and mild. Sweet being the easy, I guess, and mild being the normal. I'm assuming what difficulty? We never asked, but what difficulty did you guys select?
I played mild.
I played
mild as well.
Dang, I chose sweet. I should have picked mild because a lot of the combat was trivial.
And then when you beat the game, then they unlock the harder one, which is called bitter. I guess that's the hard mode. I don't know if there's like an expert or anything, but it looks like in PS4 or PS3 version, or let me rephrase that. In the No More Heroes Paradise version, they have a new mode called Very Sweet Mode, which changes all the female characters' costumes into sexier forms. So they're like in cheerleader costumes and lingerie and bikinis, which is parodying Dead or Alive, apparently. This is just me saying that. And then those who pre-ordered the game in Japan received a set of pictures entitled Erotica Portrait along with the game. And they're just a collection of sexy portraits. I don't know of what, because it doesn't specify. But the PS3 owners received the sexy cherry flavor, while the Xbox 360 users received... And then additionally, what Dante had said about... I think we covered a lot. I think we covered it all. Do you guys have any questions? Any last words? Because if not, Trevor, great game, great experience?
It's a fine game, fine experience.
Okay. Would you be down for No More Heroes 2?
If we were playing it for the podcast, I would, but on my own, I probably won't. I don't know. It just... Because everything else about the game felt like a chore, like outside of the combat and finding the bosses. I don't want to get into that again.
Okay.
Well, they got rid of all that stuff, or at least made it optional.
It's true. Greg, great game, great experience.
I'll say good game. I'll say great experience. I already have bought the second game, so I'll probably start that up tonight, to be honest. So if that speaks,
he's gonna put on the list.
If that speaks to like how much I guess I enjoyed this. So
okay. Dante, great game, great. Oh wait, actually, before so Greg, you're happy that you revisited this game then?
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember even why initially. I mean, I stopped playing a lot of games because of fighting games, but I'm pretty sure that's why I bounced off it. It wasn't anything about the quality of the game per se. It probably was just playing fighting games and just never got around to actually putting a dent into it. So yeah, I'm glad that I actually played it this time.
Dante, great game, great experience.
It's a mediocre game. I'd say good experience overall.
Are you gonna go back to the second game, or are you waiting for the third?
I kind of feel like a crazy man right now, and I kind of have to prove to myself that I played that game. So I might actually try to play it.
Gotcha. And I'll say for me, it was a parody game and a parody experience. And I would be down for the second game, I guess. I think I'm with Trevor, though. I think it's like part of me is like I'm maybe a little bit more curious than Trevor because I'm like, what's good with the third game? Because I've read about the second game already, but like I just how I am, I would have to play the second game before I messed around with the third game. So I think I would definitely play it if we did it on the podcast, but I don't know if there would be as much of a rush because I don't really have the greatest track record of playing sequels to games that we played on my own time. So. Well, yeah, this was a long episode, so we had a lot to say, a lot to get off our chest. But yeah, where can people find you at, Greg?
You can find me on Twitter at Boombox Hero, on YouTube at youtube.com/c/Magnegro, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Magnegro with a 0 instead of O. I don't know why I forgot that, but.
Where can people find you at, Dante?
People can find me at twitch.tv/AwakenCloud. Trying to think about what I'm streaming right now. I'll finish up Sonic Adventure 2 probably before this gets posted, but I'm also doing Dishonored 2. So,
where can people find you at, Trevor?
You can find me on the internet at Lyric Unsung.
And you streaming anything?
I may stream Sekiro.
I say you should stream our next game.
I may do it just for laughs.
For you laughs or for you to get laughed at?
For me to get laughed at. I already know I'm going to be bad at this game.
Same. I'm going to be bad and jumpy. Can't wait.
It's not a horror game, I promise.
Hey, when I Googled it, people were saying it's the scariest one in the series.
It has its moment.
Yeah, I probably won't get to him, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to get far in this game, not for lack of trying. I just think I'm going to be game. But you can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Potato Salad, and you can find us at Twitter at mcheckpoints and on Miss Checkpoints. Excuse me. Do you guys have anything else?
I was going to say, have we formally on the podcast said what our next
in the game in? Comment on our Facebook page, add us on Twitter, leave us a review, preferably 5 stars on Apple Podcasts so we can appear. Did you have some, Dante? I saw you doing the hey.
Yeah, I was just asking, have we formally said on the podcast what our next 4 games were? Next set of games?
I thought I did, but we can go over them again. So we did No More Heroes for May, which was the very first one of this new batch. Next month is Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. That'll be for June. Then July, we have a 2-parter. Which one are we doing first, Trevor?
We can play Raji.
I was going to say on the calendar.
Yeah, we can play Raji first.
Yeah, we can. So for July, we'll be playing Raji and Ancient Epic and Hyper Light Drifter. And then in August, we'll be playing... And I think I think I need to step up and choose a bonus game because it's my turn to choose a bonus game. So we might have a bonus game in the pipeline during that time frame too. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, with that, we're Miss Checkpoints.